My fellow world citizens, the burning question still burning out there. Why 9/11/2001 attack on the United States of America was not investigated publicly and openly? Quote, if they were to do real investigations, we would see several significant high-level criminal prosecutions in this country. And that is something that they are not going to let out. And believe me, they will do everything to cover this up, unquote. Cybele Edmonds, former FBI translator. Now the question is, can American military, FBI and CIA hurt own citizens and destroy own sovereign structures for eugenic evangelical colonization goal for the New World Order? Article, Operation Northwoods, terrorist side of US military, even hurting Americans and GIs. Before 9/11/2001, world didn't know much about virtual Al-Qaeda. Attacking countries at peace were meant to be war crimes. Before US-led illegal invasion and destruction of peaceful Iraq, entire land was green zone, void of Al-Qaeda, suicide bombings, sectarian violence, and friendly fires. But under massive US, British, Australian brutal occupying forces, the only green zone became new US Embassy fortress, late Saddam Hussein's palace, and virtual Al-Qaeda seems to be omnipresent, dividing Iraqis while prolonging oppressive occupation as justification of military might. How and why? Related article, what is Al-Qaeda? Back to Operation Northwoods. Recently declassified Pentagon documents, after more than 40 years, highlight a set of terrorist proposals on Cuba by the US Military Joint Chiefs of Staff, codenamed Operation Northwoods. Related article, New Pearl Harbor, 9/11 false flag operation motives and means. Back to Operation Northwoods. Details of Operation Northwoods can be found in ABC News and US National Archives, ARC Identifier 305036, title Northwoods, US Military Intervention in Cuba, 1962, as well as the book on US National Security Agency, Body of Secrets from Doubleday by author James Bamford. The document titled, quote, Justification of US Military Intervention in Cuba, unquote, was provided by then American Joint Chiefs of Staff, President Eisenhower appointee, Army General Lyman L. Lemnitzer, to Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara on March 13, 1962, outlining the key components of Operation Northwoods. The top secret document was written in response to a request from then Chief of Cuba Project, Colonel Edward Lansdale, describing US military plans to covertly engineer various terrorist pretexts leading to justification of invading Cuba. The proposals, part of a secret anti-Castro program known as Operation Mongoose, included staging the assassinations of Cubans living in the United States, developing a fake communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami and other cities of Florida as well as Washington, D.C., sinking a boatload of Cuban refugees, real or simulated, faking remote-controlled Cuban Air Force attack on a civilian jetliner, and concocting a Remember the Maine incident by blowing up a US ship in Cuban waters and then blaming the incident as Cuban sabotage. Details of the plans described in Body of Secrets suggest deliberate US military casualties as obvious from quote, we could blow up a US ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba, unquote. And, quote, casualty lists in US newspapers would cause a helpful wave of national indignation, unquote. It is obvious how 9/11 US media coverage helped destroy Afghanistan and Iraq without open public investigation, respecting rule of law and proof of conviction. President Kennedy rebuked the idea, and General Lemnitzer was transferred to another job after a month. But President Kennedy was assassinated on November 22, 1963, Friday in Dallas, Texas in broad daylight. The chief of Dallas Police announced President Kennedy's car exact location seconds before the shooting. Quote, if the United States ever experiences an attempt at a coup to overthrow the government, it will come from the CIA. The agency represents a tremendous power and total unaccountability to anyone, unquote. JFK, John F. Kennedy, 35th President of USA, assassinated on November 23, 1963. CIA's black budget is almost equal to UK's defense budget. Historically, CIA is a covert extension of UK's MI6 after World War II to re-annex USA, and so is Pakistan's ISI to work outside British accountability for the united monarchical colonial advantage against democratic free world. Operation Northwoods is an ideal example that US military can plan and execute 9/11 style precision, well-coordinated terrorism, blaming on prefabricated Islamic militants and their leader Osama bin Laden. Related article, how active and vigilant were US military before and on 9/11 for the success of the military coup. Also, how criminal were FBI's radical fundamentalist unit and CIA for the success of the uninterrupted military coup by the loyalists. It is time the Americans, United Nations and the world open an honest investigation upholding rule of law to end war of terror in disguise of most racist crusade of our time, war on terror. Quote, creating tomorrow's dominant force, the process of transformation, even if it brings revolutionary change, is likely to be a long one, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. Signatories, Donald Rumsfeld, Vin Weber, George Weigel, Paul Wolfowitz, Elliot Abrams, Gary Bauer, William J. Bennett, Jeb Bush, Dick Cheney, Elliot A. Cohen, Midge Decter, Paula Dobransky, Steve Forbes, Aaron Friedberg, Francis Fukuyama, Frank Guffey, Fred C. Ickle, Donald Kagan, Jalme Khalijad, I. Louis Libby, Norman Podhoretz, Dan Coyle, Peter W. Rodman, Stephen P. Rosen, Henry S. Rowan. Quote, a sophisticated false flag operation like 9/11 has an organizational structure with three basic levels: architectural, operational, and working. Hatta and 19 Arabs blamed as the hijackers of 9/11 were part of the working level and were simply part of the deception. That is, after all, how false flag terror works, unquote. Andreas von Buelow, the former head of the parliamentary commission that oversaw the German intelligence agencies. Related article, did you know on September 10, 2001, then President George Bush guarded his resort in Florida against possible military attack, yet kept citizens in the dark? Also, anthrax attack. Was it a backup military option just in case the coordinated remote hijackings and demolition plan failed? Why they fight? In order to save the 40 million inhabitants of the United Kingdom from a bloody civil war, our colonial statesmen must acquire new lands for setting the surplus population of this country to provide new markets. The empire, as I have always said, is a bread and butter question, unquote. Cecil Rhodes, British diamond and dynamite merchant colonialist and founder of Rhodes Scholarship from Oxford University, in order to achieve that goal. So they fight to keep the emperor and expand their oligarchy, destroying natural democracy throughout history, creating virtual enemy. Related article, why 9/11 military coup was symbolically re-annexation of the United States of America by the United British Monarchy to be a hyperpower to colonize world resources in peacetime. Also, easy methodology to end constitutional monarchies peacefully in the West to save and maintain democracies around the world. The big picture. War of American independence never ended. British troops invaded, burned Capitol and White House, destroyed the naval yard, looted the merchants, and tried to take over key port cities in 1814. Civil war was mainly wars between loyals and patriots, dividing Americans forever ideologically. The future plan of attacks mutated, creating secret society of the elect and philosopher kings among influential Americans, including president, military, and related agencies and law enforcement. 21st century high-tech surveillance and joint military and intelligence exercises only gave them free access to US capability and vulnerability to destroy US sovereign structures and high-level patriots using remote control hijacking of passenger airplanes as missiles in broad daylight, spreading massive propaganda against Islam for cover-ups, and a ploy to implement Cecil Rhodes' plan of global colonization in peacetime. God bless American citizens. God bless all citizens to stand tall for peace and justice in our heavenly world.